Okay, all right. Oh. Now, next. Okay. Bye-bye. Okay, all now. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Phew. Bye-bye. Okay, all right. All right. Okay, now, okay. Aw, a spider.
Ew, spider! Let's start cooking.
warmer, but for your arm!
I did it!
Like a leg warmer, but for your arm!
Nice! I did it! I did it! Bye-bye. Bye.
The run's almost kind of bad. Yeah. I might as well just celebrate while I'm at it. Bingus was absolutely horrible because it is too RNG dependent. Like right here, Bingus decides to. Yeah, I got lucky here. I got lucky on this part. But like a lot of times Bingus would go the other direction, which is I can't like predict that. I have to just accept my loss. Other than that, I'd say the run is pretty alright. If you guys wanna try and run the game out yourself, then you could. I might leave the splits that I've done in the description as a Google file or whatever. You can use it as a reference if you like. This is world record. I made a horrible mistake at the last split. You'll see what I mean later. Three 5 5 9 5. Right there. Okay, that's pretty good. That's a good split. I think I'm gonna get if I'm lucky, I might get a sub 1.5. It's gonna be really good. It's actually that's pretty close. I get. If not, if I like, if Bingus goes to the wrong direction, then that's gonna freaking suck because yeah. Let me just see here. Yeah, it's a 0.5. Can't predict Bingus, mate. I'm sorry everyone, but this is a disappointing run, but yeah. Six, two, 1, 2, 3, can't predict that. Go the opposite direction. I know they can at least predict that. And that's time. Okay, F5. I mean, I guess it's at least it's 130. It's just that I could have gotten a lot better if I hadn't made mistakes in the rating grade and whatnot. I'm not gonna complain too much. It's just that I mean, it's a good run. It's just I'm kind of sad since I could have gotten a lot better. And I got 2 achievements. Yep. That's all 44 achievements right there. Full 100% in 1 hour and 25 minutes. Absolutely amazing.